Welcome to First Dates and Soulmates, the romance podcast that is celebrating the books that made us feel tingles in our chesty bits, in our groiny bits, and in our brainy bits. I am your host, Nikki McKnight.
And I'm Meg Casebolt.
And welcome to our Second Annual Tingly Awards. This is very apt because at the time of this recording, the Golden Globes were just last night, and I was on social all last night, not only looking at red carpet, but I was just really proud of our boys, Hudson and Connor, for showing up at their first award show. The Tingly Awards, where we get to look back on the last year and celebrate the books, the tropes, the authors, the romance, and the sexy stuff that we loved. Meg, I was trying to think of this the other day. Do you know when we started talking about tingles in the groiny bits?
Ooh, it may have been like episode 4 or 5. It was
it was early.
Yeah.
So for those of you not familiar with the lore, I could not remember the first episode we brought this up. But I think I was talking about friends to lovers or something like that. And the idea that like, oh, first, you don't quite know what you're feeling in your heart just yet, but you're definitely feeling some tingles in your groiny bits first. And then that just became an
shorthand
joke about tingles in the groiny bits, tingles in the chesty bits. It's also merch linked in the show notes. And then last year we decided to turn it into our Tingly Awards on, what did we love? What did we read? What did we binge? What was just really exciting for us. So we are back for our second annual because as we've said before, once you do something twice, it's now a tradition. And this is our tradition.
And this is so much better than our sentient object traditions.
I don't know. Can we really differentiate between vegetable porn and our overall loves and hates for the year?
We can, and we will. This will not be another episode about vegetable porn or, for that matter, Catholicism.
Surprise religion. So, Meg, when you think back on 2025, since holy shit, it's 2026 now. I'm going to keep writing 2025. What fond memories do you have related to this show and the stuff that you've been reading?
Well, what's really helpful is that you did a really cute, very quippy reel about everything that we did. So it was like, I sort of got my Spotify Wraps of Nikki's approach to how we do things, which was fantastic. Mm-hmm. Of like, here's how many books we read for the pod, and here's how many authors we interviewed. So that was really helpful. And then also, like, I reread more this year because of the podcast. Because I said, we started last year with Chloe Brown because I was like, oh, Chloe Brown fits the theme that we're talking about. So let's start there. I'm not usually a rereader, and I reread more than ever this year. I also published more books this year. So that changed my reading behavior because I published 1.5 books. Because I published a full length and a novella, I can actually see in my reading data that I published in May and December, which feels like very appropriate to have a May-December romance. Next one comes out in March, so I won't have that same timeline. But I could see in my reading that my reading was good through March, and then it dropped in April, May, and then it went back up in June. So it's like when I'm in revision, when I'm in launch mode. And then the types of books that I read change based on how much work I'm doing. So I read shorter when I'm also writing a lot. I have to do like novellas and really quick ones. And then once I publish, I can be like, now I need like an 800-page book to really like sink my teeth into because I'm not in my own head the whole time. So that's sort of like my year in review overview is many more rereads, many more new authors to me because of the pod and because of the work we're doing here, and seeing how my own behavior changes based on my publication schedule. What about you? What's your sort of overview approach?
Never before have I read so many books about straight people.
No, but you must have at some point. You did read like all of Nora Roberts at some point in your like teenagehood.
Yeah, but like not recently.
Not as an adult.
Kind of no, not in my adult life. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I read things this year I normally don't read. I read the Ice Planet Barbarian series, or at least like the first 15.
The first 15. God, I still can't get my head around that.
So, but I also read a lot of new things this year for the show. I read a lot more lesbian romance this year than I normally do. I read a lot of traditionally published this year, which I normally don't do. Y'all, I got books from my library, and I haven't done that in a really long time. I left the house to get books. But also, we interviewed some really fantastic people this year. So I, read a lot of their work and tried to expand out my repertoire, because even if I had read maybe 1 or 2 things they had written, I was like, you know what? I got time. Let's go read the rest of their catalog.
Yeah.
At least as much of it as I could.
Especially if we're going to talk to them. I wanted to have a working knowledge of their body of work, even if I didn't read all of it.
Exactly.
It's funny. You said, you read more straight this year. I read so much more queer this year than I read before.
So you're supporting everybody.
I just looked at my list and went, why am I reading so much straight? I should be reading more queer. Queer's more fun. Maybe this is a bigger conversation we need to have about the direction of the pod, but we'll do that off air.
All right. So we're going to, before we dive into some of our own specific categories and things, last year I did share just a couple of, I'll say, stats from the show. I'm not going to go as crazy into the numbers this year because I feel like they're pretty much only just interesting to you and me. But I was looking at some of our top episodes for last year in terms of number of downloads. I don't think it's any surprise that our top episodes were Heated Rivalry.
No surprise. Zero surprise.
We released 2 episodes on Heated Rivalry last year. The 3rd episode came out in the new year, so I'm not counting that one. But our the 2 episodes we did on the first 4 episodes were top of the pile. Also, Jessica Topper coming on to talk about Rockstar Romance was a top episode for us. When we had Eden Finley on the show, she was a top episode for us. And then surprisingly, a top episode was an episode we released over a year and a half ago, Heartless by Elsie Silver.
Just won't die. I'm happy about it.
Won't die, and she has been in the news a lot for some things that she has written that people were not happy with about an upcoming release of hers. So I wonder how much of that just your SEO showing up for when people were looking at Elsie Silver. But also after that, it was our Journeys of Self-Improvement episode that we used to kick off January. Yeah. And then after that, it was Elle Kennedy when we talked about The Deal and him. So hockey still showing up in many, many places in an interesting fashion. So I guess hockey was a big theme for us last year. Top countries are still the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia. But we also have people from Japan, Ireland, Singapore, Spain, Russia, Nigeria, Belgium, Norway. So hi, guten tag, hola, konnichiwa, and all the other languages I don't know. And then, as you said, in our last episode, we were talking about people we meet on vacation. Our YouTube following got really big last year. Normally on that channel, we would get maybe 5 views on some of our long form videos. And now we're getting a couple thousand on the Heated Rivalry episodes. So thank you, Loons, for the support on the socials. We really appreciate it. As a theater kid who just likes attention.
I do my hair now for the pod. Okay. My husband saw me today. He's like, "Oh, it's a podcast day, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, contacts went in, babe. This is serious."
All right, so let us kick off our Tingly Awards. When Meg and I do this, we there's some categories that we hit all the time, like kind of our best book or, maybe our favorite series. But other than that, we go a little wild with some of our categories. We get a little niche, perhaps, with our choices. So we're gonna kick it off with I will go first with one of my categories. So Meg has talked about this. This was a year of rereads. And for me, there was a couple of series that I reread for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th time. So I want to celebrate some of my best rereads of this year. And these are in no particular order. And I want to start off with the Wages of Sin series by Only James and Nev Wilder. This is a co-write they did many, many years ago. It's kind of a cozy dark, which is something that Only kind of characterizes her books at. It's vigilante justice. There are hackers. There are assassins. There are mercenaries for hire. And it's just a really kind of sexy, cozy, dark series, which I've now read 7 or 8 times. There are 3 books. I really wish they had written more, but alas. So Wages of Sin.
It's hard with the co-write to get that
really
production
together. I
together.
Totally get it. My next top reread of the year was Secret Service by Tao Bauer. And a bit of a charged book, I'll say, to be rereading.
Yeah.
Because it's about the president and his main Secret Service agent.
This was not only my first Tal Bauer, this was the first book that you recommended to me.
Was
I
it
was
really?
like, yeah, because we were talking about the West Wing.
Oh my gosh, it was. It's very much a West Wing coded book. And I think it also fits our themes this year of books happening over periods of time, because Secret Service is very much a book that is present, flashback, present, flashback, present, flashback, as the president has been kidnapped and how they are trying to figure out who and why, but also how their relationship started. It's a fabulous book.
Oh,
There's
now
so
I want
much
to reread your reread.
I know, it's so much drama.
So good.
Yeah. My third best reread is, and this, I was really into like fantasy and urban fantasy this year, was the Luckless series by Carrie Z, or Carrie Z for those Canadians. And it's basically a dystopian future where there is a shit ton of monsters and the only thing keeping humans alive are dragons. And there's this one character who was a dragon rider, and his dragon was killed, and now he's seen as kind of this abomination and this failure. But he meets this very charming man and his young child who for some reason seem to have a lot of cachet and status in their dystopian city for reasons. But it is a 3-book series, and I'm not really into shifters very much, but this series with dragon shifters and like dystopian politics, like, again, it's not a new series, but I read it a lot this year. I think I reread it twice this year alone, because I just find the relationship between the two main characters really, really fun. Yeah, so those are my top rereads of the year. Wages of Sins by Neff Wilder and Only James, Secret Service by Tal Bauer, and the Luckless series by Carrie Z/Z. Very, very enjoyable, and kind of a mix of types there. Political intrigue and cozy dark vigilante and urban fantasy. I don't know. I'm eclectic, y'all.
I love that for you.
I'm eclectic. Thank you.
All right. Well, I will take this in a very different direction. The three of the books that I read this year, one of them I'm going to save for my favorite book of the year. But there were 3 books that I read this year that just, I had no idea where they were going. They were full of really fascinating plot twists that I couldn't have predicted, and I was on board for every single plot twist. So I'm going to share 2 of them now, and one as like my final favorite book of the year. And I talked about both of them on the pod, so I'm not going to go into huge details because we've got a lot to cover. One of them is A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. I talked about that. That's the one where it's based in Harlem, and she moves into an old house that has some magical tendencies. And the other one is This in Every Life by Emmy Saunders, where it's 4 short stories that sort of tie together because of some constellation relationships. And I'm going to leave that sort of open-ended. If you want to go back and listen to my rants about them as a ship, great. But part of the reason that they're good is because I'm not going to try to tell you too much about them. So that's my unexpected time travel-y, didn't expect any of those plot twists, and I loved every minute of them books. That's my category. What's your next category, Nick?
Ooh, I love that. I'm going to move on to bingeable authors, because as much as I reread things a lot this year, there are certain authors that, as I mentioned in my ship last week when I kind of discovered, I'll say, Sylvana Falcon, I went down a lot of rabbit holes this year, y'all, of like, oh, I'll read this one book. Oh, look, I'm going to read every book this person has ever written. Because I have a little bit of an obsessive personality. So when I find something, I'm like, let's just read all of it.
I had no idea about this for you.
I know. It's just surprising. It's shocking for all of us who know me. So most bingeable author, or the one I decided to read their entire catalog. First up, a little bit of an exception to this category, was Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarian.
It wasn't her entire category. It was just her primary source work.
Yeah, I don't know why I went down this rabbit hole. and I don't remember the circumstances of it, but I definitely was like, oh, everybody keeps talking about this series. I know why. It's because we read the Scared Sexy series
yes.
at Halloween, and one of them was Ruby Dixon's like Space Vampire or something like that, and that just triggered. I read like 12 to 14 books or something like that from Ice Planet Barbarians. I
yes,
have no excuse.
Did.
It just happened. So Ruby Dixon has an honorary place on this list because I just needed to know how she was going to set up the same premise like 20 different times, and I needed to see how it happened. So that was very enjoyable. The other author I read a lot of this year in terms of their entire catalog, I brought this up a couple weeks ago, was Mary Calms. Because I had read her Raven in the Woods series. I had read her Just George series. And I don't remember how I got onto it, but I started reading like her U.S. Marshal series and read that entire series. And I was like, oh, wow, you know what? I didn't read the prequel series about Sam Cage. Then I went and read that entire series. And then the latest Raven in the Woods book came out. So then I went and I read that a couple of weeks ago. And then I was like, you know what? I need to reread Just George. So I went and read I think Just George is like a 3 or 4 book series. So Mary and I were tight this year, y'all. I read a lot. It kept coming up in many, many different ways. So Mary Calms was also on my list. One that I don't know how popular of an author they are, but Charity Parkerson. I don't know anything about this author except the fact that she publishes a book like every other month, and she's got like 4 series on the go right now. So she writes a lot of kind of dark mafia, dark vigilante books. So there's books like her Atlantic City Mafia series, her Damaged series, and then she's also got fantasy in there. But Charity Parkerson, they're really quick reads. I can usually read one of her books in about 45 minutes. And there's always a book coming out. So I read a lot of Charity Parkerson this year. So I guess if you like a really weird mix of urban fantasy and also not at all fantasy, but like mafia stuff and arms dealers, she's got something for you hanging out there. And then the last author I will bring up here is Catherine McIntyre. So I've brought up Catherine McIntyre a couple times on the show. Her latest series is the Brannon Brothers series, which I don't think the 3rd book has come out just yet, but the first 2 have. But she's also got the Leather and Lattes series, which is in the same universe. It's a kink club. They have a dungeon in the coffee shop where they do munches and like tutorials and things like that. So I had kind of read that series. But then a series of hers popped up that I hadn't read before, which was in the same universe as all of these, but it's her Dungeons and Dating series. So it's about a group of friends that own like a board game kind of D&D cafe. And there's gay romance, there's lesbian romance, there's gay non-binary romance in it. So I read that entire 6-book series, and it turns out I had read like book 6 only in that series a while ago. But again, we've talked about this before. I really like interconnected universe series. So I was like, oh, the Dungeons and Dating is connected to Leather and Lattes, which is connected to the brand. So I read the series completely backwards because Dungeons and Dating started off the universe, then it went to Leather and Lattes, and then it went to the Brannon Brothers, and I read it completely backwards. So Catherine McIntyre was definitely a bingeable series for me.
Another reverse author series that you did this year. Wow.
I think they just show up on like my suggested page.
Probably.
So I just read that one, and then I'm like, oh look, this person has actually written a fuck ton of other books. I should probably go read those.
That's where I want to be in like 5 years. Is somebody like reads the newest release and then they're like, oh, let me go back and read everything else that this person wrote.
I like that for you. You shall become that one day.
One book at a time, which actually brings me to my next category, if you're cool with it, which is the trilogies that left me completely emotionally unhinged. And these 4 authors that I'm going to give trilogies from are authors that you can do that with for all of it. They're sort of like the when I grow up, I want to be these authors sort of authors. And so I'm going to name them off and not go into too much detail because I've shipped several of them and you have shipped one of them and we've talked about them before. So one is the Skyfall series by Kennedy Ryan. The Friendship Rhode Island series by Kate Canterbury. I It's a trilogy so far. I don't know if it's closed or if she has just only released 3. So I'm calling it a trilogy because I can. The Las Leones series by Adriana Herrera and the Atris series by N.R. Walker. So these are some straight, some queer. But the reason that I love them is because they're willing to hold the space to destroy your heart and to sit in the discomfort for a little bit. They don't put a Band-Aid on pain so quickly. Instead, they're willing to escalate the drama because they know that the payoff will be there. So they deal with really shitty, difficult situations. The craft is really strong. You feel emotionally invested, but it's not surface level romance. It's not, here's an archetype who falls in love with another archetype. This is like their marriage fell apart, or they're being, they're trying to get their business off the ground, and things don't always work in their favor and they have to push through it anyway. With the Atris series, it's like a total anxiety, panic attack, burnout that's happening on the stage in front of a huge audience. Like, these are authors who are not afraid to be uncomfortable, to raise the stakes, to grow people over the course of not just 1 book, but 3 books. And that, to me, that like the ability to hold the space to go where things are hard is a hard lesson to learn and a hard craft to do, and these authors all do it really beautifully. So those are the trilogies that just left me like a sobbing wreck in my bathtub.
Oh, I'm not going to bring one of the books on there I have in like my series of the year and book of the year selection. So
okay,
I'm not going to talk about that now, but we're going to come back to that.
Keep listening, soulmates.
Okay, so I was looking through like the top tropes I normally read, and I'm normally not a fantasy person. Holy fuck, did I read a lot of fantasy last year? Mostly urban fantasy, which again, not typically something I go for.
And maybe there was some like escapism happening in your life of like, I just need to go to a different planet right now.
I just need to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But I did have some of my top fantasy, urban fantasy, and one of them I guess is technically sci-fi, but it's fantasy-ish, so I'm going to include it in this category. So my top fantasy books of the year, Adopt a Vampire by A.J. Sherwood made me laugh hysterically. You basically have this character who's turned into a vampire and abandoned by his sire immediately, so he doesn't really know how to function or kind of what the rules are. So he's trying to fly under the radar, and he gets adopted by a werewolf pack. And they're like, we'll just teach you how to be a vampire. And it's really cute. It's really sexy. And just fun. I think A.J. Sherwood always writes really fun dialogue and characters. So this book is hilarious. It started off as a serial on her Patreon, and then she published it in a book this year. And it's
A.J. Sherwood is so like light and effervescent. Yes. So she touches on really dark topics and like dark worlds, but it's not heavy. You don't read it and go, oh, it's a vampire. Oh, it's mafia. It's a vampire. Yeah. But it's also like, it's not mired in the aches that you often get with, and like the ennui of vampirism.
Yes, I would agree with that. And then the one that's not quite fantasy is the Dark Space series by Lisa Henry. This is a little dark, y'all. This is a little dark. So it is sci-fi, I guess. Space. I am not good.
What?
Like,
Who are you?
How do you characterize space as like sci-fi or not? I don't know.
I think you do. I think it's sci-fi.
This is a trilogy, and basically there's a war between humans and this alien race, and there is this soldier who went missing years ago, and they assumed he was killed or kidnapped by the aliens, but then he comes back to kind of one of Earth's many space stations and is like, I am here on behalf of the aliens to like negotiate and talk. And it's like real political. It is a little dark. There's some like dubcon stuff in this with like mind reading, and because the aliens are like a hive mind. But I guess like too, I was just into like weird political shit this year where, governments get destroyed. Interesting how I feel that way. But so this is a dark series, but the world building in it and like the culture of the the culture of the aliens was just really interesting. But also, why do sci-fi books have so much goo?
Oh my God.
The walls of the ship have goo. There's goo in the walls of the ship. It's weird.
So many fluids. So much sensory overload.
Why does sci-fi have fluids? There shouldn't be fluids because they have like recycled water and stuff. Yet, full of fluids.
It is interesting to me, though, that you went from like operations professionals when we first started, and then you went into like bureaucracy and red tape when we did Louisa Masters, and now you're just like escalating into like coup d'etats.
There's themes here. And then my final kind of book to bring up for the series is this is a series by Jacqueline Osborne that's been going on for like 2 years now, and it's called Sent to a Fantasy World and Now All the Men Want Me. And
what a hard life.
It is based on kind of like a Japanese style of books. I can't remember the Japanese term, but it's basically kind of like a why choose style where essentially this man is sent from Earth into a fantasy world and he has so many mates. I think he's up to 7 in the current book, but we keep finding out more about his backstory and why he was brought to this world and how he was chosen. We still don't know the answers to it, and I gotta look up. I don't even know what book they're on. Jacqueline Osborne's on right now. It might be like book 6 because she does not release them that often. But this is a lot of TV shows these days don't have filler episodes as much, and this I actually find a really comforting series because it does have like a little bit of filler. Like he opens up a cafe in this fantasy world. So there's just like a lot of scenes of him baking.
That's so delightful. And
yeah.
Like calming.
So
it's like really good for your nervous system probably.
Yeah. So volume 5 has been released and volume 6 is supposed to come out this fall. So it just keeps going. And it's kind of described as Evan and his men are back for another cozy romance-driven adventure with all the charm, swoon, and muffins you've come to expect. Because his nickname is Muffin Lord. Yeah, it's just kind of like cute with a lot of sex.
You need like a cozy space. Why choose?
There you go. It's very fun. So that is my top fantasy book / series of the year.
I love that. All right, I'm gonna pivot to the weird shit that I never would have read if not for the podcast. And the answers here are obviously Pounded by Produce and My Night with an Ampersand. I think this podcast has expanded my approach to what will and won't be read. It has certainly taken, if I ever had a kink shaming moment, it's gone away because I'm like, well, some listener out there might really, really like this part. So, content warnings aside about weird stamen sex, it was really...
I forgot you read this, and I was just really confused. And then I think I talked about, was the ampersand serif or sans serif? Because then the serif would be the clit, and you're actually like, no, that's the other part of the ampersand.
I learned all the typography of the ampersand. Interesting. So that way I could follow along with it. Like, there's some weird shit out there, and I'm here for it. And I feel like because self-publishing KU indies are out there, like, the floodgates are open. And it's okay to go down those weird rabbit holes sometimes. And like embrace the weird rabbit holes if they're part of a balanced diet.
Intriguing, thank you.
You don't have to read what I read, but I'm not ashamed of it.
No, I was like, everything, it's all art. It all deserves to be written and read.
And there's a time and a place for like a goofy novella when you're like, you're tired and you just want to read something that, sets off the dopamine, but you don't have to think that hard. Whew, there's a lot of good novellas out there.
Yeah. Can I don't have a category for this, but I have a book for your category if I could throw it in.
Yes.
It's something like I never would have read if not for this show. There's a couple. Hothead by Celery.
You do not do an alpha sports guy.
I really don't. And I typically don't DNF books. But this one was close.
And people love it. They love it so much. But you and I are just not alpha male lovers. We're not into it. And so, but it's interesting to have the conversation about it and to be able to have a critical thinking lens about why didn't we like this and why do other people like this? And I think that can be a good thing. So thank you for going down that journey with me, even if it wasn't the choice that you would have made. I appreciate your commitment to the craft. Since we're talking about like what we read because of the pod that we wouldn't have otherwise. I have a category that is favorite new author that I discovered because of the podcast.
Ooh.
Now, a lot of these authors we reach out to because one or both of us has already read their whole back catalog, or, you know, I've already read some of their stuff and I'm like, oh, this would fit. Let me see. Or I know this person. But in this case, you and I were thinking about back to school. And we talked to our friend of the pod, Andrea Jones, and she said, you should have on M.A. Wardell for his Teacher of the Year books and his Teacher of the Year series. And so I was introduced to Matt just through the pod. I've read the whole series, loved it. And I think that that's also something that, like, you know, I hope that the soulmates out there are listening to this and going, oh, I want to pick up that book. Oh, this is, you know, devastating for my TBR because Meg and Nikki have all these great ideas. But, like, for y'all to know that we are having that experience as well, of we are introducing ourselves to new authors, we are expanding our own horizons and our own boundaries and our own spectrums of reading as part of in service to you, in service to the authors, and in service to being better, more critical, stronger readers. So that's my category there, is the author that I met through the pod and fell in love with their back catalog.
I also have one for this category.
Please.
Jessica Topper. Had not read any of Jessica's things. I did not know her or Amanda, because now I've read some of Amanda's work since they're co-writing the Matzo Ballers series. So that was also really nice. Like, one, Jessica was just a fabulous guest with such a cool life. And then also Alexa Martin.
Yes.
Alexa came on the show really early last year. Football romance, again, not really my thing, but...
Because we did the Super Bowl episode with her in February. Yes.
Exactly. And I just feel like it's so interesting that I bring up both Alexa and Jessica, because one of the reasons we had them as a guest, because they had real life experience with that, right? Like, Alexa was a football wag for years, and now she's a football mom because one or both of her sons are both like playing like high level football at their age. But then Jessica traveled with bands and you know, knows the backstage
rock
stuff.
Star manager.
Yeah,
she knows what she's doing.
That was just so like fun and weird a little bit. But like, I just loved how that came up for both of them. And now I think like they're both fabulous people. And now I've read more of their work. And we have a little bit of a running joke that when Amanda and Jessica do finish the Matzo Baller series, they're going to have to come on. So I think you mentioned that the reel I did to kind of sum up last year, Jessica sent me a message on it. She goes, oh, look, it's me. Like, such a great time. And I'm like, next time it's going to be you and Amanda here.
We will have both of you.
We will have both of you.
We will all be within 100 kilometers of each other and recording from 4 different places for no good reason. Yes.
It will be great.
Yes. And that's also, I think, also part of what people may not think about for us is like, who do we know that we can ask to build a plan around those particular authors? So I'm so thrilled that we've had the opportunity to like bring in Alexa, because I've known Alexa since before I started the pod. And I'm like, I was waiting for the right moment to get her in here. So maybe we'll bring her in to talk about cowboys, because she's got a new cowboy romance coming out. But we will not go there today. This is retrospective, not proactive.
I like that. I like that. Okay. I have, talking about TV and film, because I love it so much. I wanted to share my top romance TV/movies
please.
Of the last year.
Yes.
To nobody's surprise, Heated Rivalry is on this list.
Heated Rivalry! The Moon Captain has arrived.
It has now become the standard by which I'm going to judge all adaptations. And unfortunately, for people we meet on vacation, it's how I judged that one.
Yeah, that was a really hard bar.
It's a hard bar to clear. But I loved Heated Rivalry. Another one on my top, I'm gonna call it rom-coms, even though not all of these are rom-coms. I've mentioned it many times on the show. The Wrong Paris.
You love that one.
I love that movie. I was so shocked by how much I loved it. I think the main actor is Pearson Faudet, and Miranda Cosgrove. It's so funny, and it really reminded me of just watching movies with my best friend Jen, because she loves reality TV, and the whole thing is basically like a Bachelor type show. So it was so funny. And then I also wanted to bring up The Materialists. This was an interesting film. Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans. Dakota Johnson is like a matchmaker, and Pedro Pascal is like the millionaire, good on paper guy, and Chris Evans is her ex, who's like unmoored, doesn't have a direction, does not have as much money, and the play between them. Not like an amazing movie, but I just really liked the actors in it. Like Pedro Pascal is Daddy. Daddy can do whatever he wants, and he's fabulous. But I just really liked the interplay on it, and it really had some interesting things to say about romance and love in our current times and climes. And then my last one for this category is a little bit of a weird choice. I shipped this movie early on in the year, and the movie is The Gorge.
Oh, yeah, where they were on opposite sides of the gorge and like
with Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yes.
This is kind of a romance, but it's also not.
Non-traditional, we'll say?
Sure. I don't even know how to categorize this one. But yeah, you had these two snipers on either side of this mysterious gorge. It turns out in the gorge, there are monstrous beings, and they're not supposed to have communication with each other, but they start sending messages back and forth and kind of like fall in love over this distance. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about Miles Teller as a human, but him and Anya Taylor-Joy in this movie were so fabulous. It's kind of, we'll call it, non-traditional romance film. I guess, at the end of the day, when rubber hits the road, are you going to help your partner kill a bunch of human-like beings that want to murder you? That's true love. That's true love in my book.
You had a lot of just like dystopian.
I know. I could make a comment about art imitating life right now, but
oh my god,
keep it positive.
Let's not go there. All right, I'm going to bring it back up. I'm going to say my favorite debut author this year. Mm-hmm. It will come as no surprise to anybody who knows our guest list and our roster, but my favorite debut author this year is Olivia Carter. Yeah. Pen name for our friend of the pod, Andrea Jones, who released Soft Launch in June. And yeah. I loved the book. I love everything so Andrea puts out. I would have loved it even if I didn't know Andrea, but the fact that she has worked in social media for so long and then wrote about sort of social media creator burnout felt so... What you just said about Alexa and Jessica, like having lived it and then like channeled their own life experience into the book. Soft Launch did that so incredibly well. To have this feeling of how do we do our mental health when we're always on the stage and always performing was so powerful. And my device that is triggered by a certain author's name just went off in the background. So sorry if I triggered anyone else's Amazon devices. But yeah, Olivia Carter, Soft Launch, best debut book I read this year.
I'm going to co-sign that. It's absolutely fabulous. Yeah. Well done. AKA Drea, who is the third person in our podcast throuple.
It's an open relationship. Sometimes she's here, sometimes she's not. It's okay.
I love her so much. And I'm really excited for the other stuff that she's got coming out this year. For both of you guys both have good stuff coming out this year.
We do.
And I'm really, you're like, yes, I do.
I do. I have 2.5 books in the docket. We're going to see if we can make it happen.
OMG.
Big year. It's my first year that I'll do more than one full launch.
Oh my goodness.
I've got Kate and Nick, and I've got Elijah's book coming in the fall. I will not say who he is partnered with.
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Right.
Okay.
Do we want to go to book of the year? Do you have anything else? I'm ready for book of the year.
I have 2 categories left.
Okay, bring on your finals.
Best new series and then best book.
Do it.
Okay. Best new series. So for me, in this category, it had to come out in 2025, even if it's not complete. There's 2 exceptions to this because they came out in like December of 2024, but I didn't read it in January, so I'm gonna bring it over.
Yeah.
So number 1 book in this category, or number 1 series, is The Year of Us by E.M. Denning and Kate Hawthorne. These are authors that I love individually, but what they did is they released 1 book a month. So it was The Year of Us January, The Year of Us February. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago.
Yes. I love
this. It follows the same couple over the course of like a year in the life, 1 month at a time.
Love that.
And it's got some kink elements to it because they both meet as doms, and they both live in California and New York. And as their dynamic switches, their relationship changes. And it's how do we negotiate a relationship when we are far apart. It's absolutely fabulous. I think now that it's fully released, I'm going to have to go back and read like the whole thing one after each other because I did read it as it came out last year. Really cool device, really great storytelling. The other series that I loved and that completed this year was The Jilted Exes Club by Riley Hart. So book 1 came out in December 2024, but I read it in January. This series follows these 3 guys who it turns out were all dating the same man. When essentially they get one of them gets really publicly broken up with and kind of humiliated on social media, and more people start coming out of the woodwork. I dated him too. And they're kind of known on social media to be like, oh, they were the people that were like dumped publicly by that guy. And it's all about them kind of becoming friends with each other, because who else has gone through what they've gone through, and becoming friends and finding new relationships. Being humiliated publicly is hard. It was kind of hard to read, especially in the first book, as they're setting up the premise for how these 3 men get to know each other and become friends. But that's why they're called the Jilted Exes. And, the support they find in each other, and then also the new relationships that they find, was just so good.
And like, what a great premise for a trilogy to say, here's these 3 guys that have all been through this same traumatic situation together, and here's how they all dealt with it differently. So smart.
It was really, really good. So Jilted Exes Club by Riley Hart. Next up is Lovers of the Dam series by Colette Rivera, which I believe I've also shipped this year, which is why it's on this list. It's these 3 demons who escape hell to try and find their fated mates. And their brother, for one of them, it's a blood brother, but they're also just brotherhood, is literally Lucifer. And it's how are they trying to find their fated mates while also trying to deal with Lucifer and other demons that have escaped from hell. Lucifer's book is about to come out, so this one is not fully complete, but the first books are so good. If you like paranormal, Colette Rivera is another author that I kind of just went ham on this year. But Lovers of the Dam series is by Colette Rivera is fabulous. And then my last best new series, again, first book came out in December of 24, but I read it and I've shipped this many times on this show. It's the Charmed Away Temp Agency series by Amy Padilla. In a world where the supernatural creatures are the dominant species, clearly a big conglomerate needs temps to fill in. So it's following the temp agency staff members that work for this big company. And, the head of legal is a dragon. The head of the company is an incubus. And head of development is this creature. And then all the relationships that they form with each other. It is a fabulous fucking series. And I think the next book is coming out in a month or 2 at the time.
You love a nice, workplace, really competent people who are working in bureaucracy that can grow with them and they can improve things. There's something really good about that. It's not about the workplace dynamics. It's about that's the way that people are connected within that series and universe. I like that for you. It's true. Love it.
Thank you. All right, what do you got next?
Are we here for ready for favorite book of the year?
That's my last category I have is book of the year.
This is like that final moment. All right, soulmates, are you ready? Mm-hmm. I feel like should I put like a drum roll in when I edit? I don't know if I'm going to. Thank you. Favorite book of the year.
Okay, hit me.
The Fall by Tal Bauer. Ooh. Did you read this one?
I did not.
I downloaded it the day that it was released because it just showed up in my Kindle and I was like, okay, and then I got about a third of the way through and went, wow, this is moving at a clip, but we're only 30%. And then I looked it up and it was 800 pages long.
Jesus.
And it did not feel like it was 800 pages. So I like to start with that, which is it's a long one. It's another one of those timey-wimey, twisty-turny books where there are time jumps. There's some mental health issues. These are hockey players, so we still have that sort of hockey thread going through it. One of them has a traumatic brain injury, and that's sort of maybe mildly, I'm trying not to give spoilers, connected to the timey-wiminess of it. Is there actually a time jump happening, or is there a problem with his brain that's happening? And then also, because we have these time jumps, we have moments where we flash forward, we have moments where we know things from the forward ideas that could be a dream, but maybe they're not a dream. So there's so much that he plays with here. It wasn't just the 800 pages that was the reason this was also the book that took me the longest amount of time to read. It was because the setup and the premise was so good that I took 2 months off at the 60% mark because I just wanted them to be happy for a little while.
That's always my challenge with Tal Bauer is I love it, but it puts me through the emotional fucking ringer and I need to take a break.
So
Ooh,
I
okay.
it wasn't even like, okay, I'm going to get through the end of this book and then I'm going to read some like sugar sweet novellas. It was like, no, I want them to just hang out in this like Florida Keys Island for like 2 months and just be happy before I go back to them. And then I can go back into the devastation because they've had their moment of happiness, even if it's not changing in the book. I never do that. But for this couple, I was like, no, this is what I need to have them. Like, I can't go into the devastation. I need to like center my own nervous system because it was that immersive. So, The Fall by Tal Bauer. Give yourself like a week to read it and then give yourself a week to recover from it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
You know I love emotional devastation, and this one just like fucking wrecked me.
Ooh. Okay.
Nikki, book of the year. Blah, 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 blah.
Book of the year. So I wrestled with this a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
when you read 700 books.
Yes, it's true. So, you know, I was thinking like Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez shocked me with how much I loved it. I was thinking of 10 Ways to Accidentally Fall in Love by Emmy Sanders because I love oblivious himbos. You know, Sheena Jolie's Edge of Fate, like Beacon Hill Sorcerer, came up for me because I love like the ace representation in that. And I was waiting for that story for so long. But Book of the Year. Code Word.
Whoa.
Atris Book 3 by N.R. Walker.
So the book 3 from one of my trilogies that I mentioned. Yes.
If you want to talk emotional fucking devastation, it's Code Word.
This one was Friends to Lovers, yeah?
Friends to Lovers over a long period of time, and one of them decides, I'm not going to wait anymore, but we need to be apart while I kind of like fall out of love with you. And then the other one's like, no, wait, I do love you. And nobody will tell me where you are, and we haven't talked in months. Like, yearning, devastation. I cried, but it was so satisfying how N.R. Walker ended that, because the entire series is emotional. Like, I love the entire Atris series, but this book wrecked me and then put me back together in the best way. Absolutely fabulous. I need to read it again, but yeah, there's yearning and angst out the wazoo with this fucking book. But
yes, I loved it.
So good. What a hard one. Happy ending for that couple, because you see them throughout the entire series and you know what's going on with them just because they're in the background, and you know, you're like, ooh, that's going to be rough when we get there. That's going to be rough when we got there. And we got there and it was rough. But
it almost like reminds me of the fandom series from Eden Finley. That was a bit more lighthearted. It wasn't as emotionally angsty devastation. Yeah. But that idea of you have a 5-member boy band in both of them, or 4 or 5-member, I can't remember. Yeah. And 2 of them are friends to lovers as the way that they get together. It's just like such a smart setup, such a smart premise. So yeah, loved that book. Cosign.
Cosign. Oh my gosh. That's the Tinglies, y'all.
And we are not going to ship anything else because I think we just like obliterated your TBRs.
I ship all these things. So to borrow a page from Meg's book for the last couple weeks, hey fans, hey soulmates, comment in the comments. Let us know in the comments, what were your Tingly Award winners this year? What books or series or pieces of romantic media did you love and just want to share? Because I'm always looking for new shit for my TBR. It is an ever expanding. It's like the universe. It just keeps expanding. I don't ever assume I'm going to get through it, but I would love to add some of your favorites to my list. So,
to quote Mean Girls, the limit does not exist.
The limit does not exist for my TBR, y'all. It's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Oh my gosh, so that's the Tingly Awards. Oh my gosh, guys.
Happy tingles.
Happy tingles. I hope you're feeling the tingles in your groiny bits, in your chesty bits, and in your earballs, because I know Meg hates that word. So before we say goodbye to you this week, a few gentle reminders. The number one thing you can do for us is share the show with a friend. Tell your friends. We would love to have more people listen to the show. After that, if you want to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, wherever you get your podcasts from, it helps more people find out about us, and it makes us feel really nice. And then give us a follow on social media. We are at First Dates and Soulmates on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. I guess I cross-post there, but who cares about Facebook? You're not boomers. So give us a follow over there.
There might be boomers. There could be some boomers out there.
You know what? There might be. We'd love to see your comments. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to have you share your thoughts. And if you have a little bit of money to spend, you can check out our merch. It is on TeePublic, and it is listed in the show notes below. Or you can subscribe to the show on Substack. Subscribe for 1 month. Subscribe for many months. We appreciate any and all support that you can give. Coming up next week, it's time for Bridgerton season, y'all. We are going to be talking about Benedict's book, An Offer from a Gentleman, to lead up into the release of part 1 of season 4. So tune in for Bridgerton coming up soon. Bye!
Bye!